Hey, everybody, welcome back to Therapists Unmasked. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sam, and please join us as we learn how to be our true therapist selves with our therapist friend, Ciara.
We hope you enjoy the episode, and let's roll the intro. Hi, beautiful. Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
And we're excited to have you. Now, introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do for work, and what your views are on mental health.
So my name's Ciara. My last name's Monroe. I'm originally from Miami, so I will always start there. I am a Miami girl. Right now I'm in Gainesville. I work in private practice. And I right now I'm like trying to find the balance of being a therapist and a community creative. Gainesville has a really beautiful like cultural scene here, and I've grown so much as a creative. And so in my practice and outside of my practice. So my practice is called The Love Bitch, which feels like intense, but that is how I feel. And I'll definitely get into that in the mental health piece. But so I feel like through that lens, I don't want to say the word brand because that feels nasty. But I guess who I am for what I do for the collective, I think is kind of like under that umbrella term. And I've always wanted to be like a therapist for people that are like femme fatales, sex workers. Like I'm from Miami, so when I see like black and brown femmes, I'm just like, I love us. And I wonder who our therapist is. Like I wonder who is JT from the City Girls. Like who's her therapist? Like who's Beyonce's therapist? And I feel like we do so much for the culture. And I just love like the power of sensuality and sexuality and how we carry ourselves and the fun and the liveliness that we have. And I also know there's an underbelly to that, and that usually we're carrying a lot of shit in life, or like listening to friends or just different friends growing up. It's like, damn, that's a lot. And the way she continues to show beauty in the world, to me, it feels like somewhere I want to hold sacred space in that way for films like that or that type of energy. And I'm also neurodivergent and I don't really fit in boxes. Like I remember telling my dad, like, oh, my practice name is gonna be The Love Bitch, and he was very pissed off about that. I had to explain it. It's like I know what I'm doing, and I want people to feel like when you come to therapists, like I am your community member. I'm not some guru. Like I love identifying as a whore. I love to talk shit. Like I'm from Miami. Like I want it to feel like I feel like how healing is supposed to be, like with your elders, with your community. And so I feel like who I am as a person. I have a strong personality and I carry myself in that way because there's a lot of reasons why. And I feel like it's misperceived. Like I only have the best intentions, but I realize when you take up space, people find that as aggressive. And I am neurodivergent. So the way I think and process is very black and white and can be very logical. So I'm blunt and transparent, and we live in a society that does not accept that. And so for me, kind of reclaiming being called aggressive or the angry black woman, or I'm such a bitch because I'm standing up for myself, and why do I have to take up so much space? And it's like, okay, if I'm a bitch, I'll be a love bitch. And I also love like love so much, and I see how our society gets obsessed with love, like limerence. And I love the movie The Love Witch, and it was just such a camp movie. I'm like, girls. That's who I want to be a therapist for because I get it. And so it's kind of like a combination of that. And I want to be able to do that in a one-on-one setting with clients, but also in the community. Like I worked at another practice and put on like a fashion show for the community where we could like have joy and reclaim stuff and talk about the transphobia that's happening and like be transparent, have a place that you can kind of shed things. And I wanted it to be a rave. And it's like, I want to do things like that. Like, I don't want to just only empower people one on one. I want to help my collective feel empowered. And so that's who I am in a nutshell, I guess, introduction.
I love that.
Thank
I'm
you.
in absolute awe right now. I love what everything you just said.
What motivated you to become a therapist?
I knew in high school I wanted to be a therapist. My understanding was skewed. I hate to say this, but it's the truth. I was watching Dr. Phil. Looking back, I'm like, that is not appropriate whatsoever in many ways. And I think I just have always been drawn to the darkness of society. And I don't think dark as demonic. I think too much sugar can give you diabetes and you can see colors in the dark. Like raves are great in the dark, but the rawness of society. So I've always been drawn to that. And so I knew in high school I wanted to do that. I used to be a theater kid, and then my program was trash. And I was like, okay, I need to focus on something else. So I was just drawn to that. I think the type of therapist I want to be now kind of came in undergrad and ways. So I think that's kind of, I hope I answered the question, how I became a therapist or how I knew I wanted to become a therapist.
What populations do you like to work with?
I work with any ages. 14 is the youngest I think I could do. I think 14 is the youngest because I have so much respect for child therapists, and I think I need to know more in order to do that role. I work with a lot of young adults. I'm realizing that from like 18 to like 26, I feel like is the majority of the demographics that I work with. I do have older clients. I think a lot of them, as far as like if there was a common thread among them, I think it's them kind of having awakenings of like struggling to like come into themselves and really trying to learn themselves and reclaim themselves. So I feel like that would be a common thread. But and that is the type of work I want to do. I like to do trauma work and work with just like sexual trauma, sexual, even just exploration. Ideally, it really did come in for my Black and brown, queer, and trans siblings. Like, I would not be who I am as a woman, as a person, if it wasn't for that community and it wasn't for my siblings. So, ideally, I want to work with people like that. And I do, and I get to, and I like, even just like seeing other Black femmes, like, I have such amazing clients. I'm like, you are the it girl. You are the it girl. You are that bitch. And so I feel like I'm working with a lot of clients that are stepping into themselves and their power. So I would say that's kind of the demographic I'm working with them.
As somebody who has their own private practice, like tell me, what is that like? Because me, in the future, I'd like to own my own private practice as well. So
Mm.
please tell me everything.
I was not expecting to be in business like this fast. And so it's been interesting because I'm still figuring that out, like talking in supervision, like what does it look like to be a businesswoman? And the capitalism side of that, it's like a whole different piece. And it's like, how do I do that ethically? It is cool in ways because I feel like I have way more freedom. So it makes me feel more emboldened to practice how I want to practice. Because like, well, my boss is not gonna fucking fire me for speaking up. Bitch, I am my boss. I don't give a fuck, bitch. I'm grown. So I'm gonna talk my shit the way I want to fucking talk my shit. And so that's been really liberating, having my own practice.
I can absolutely relate to that because I don't want to have a boss. I don't want to work under somebody. I'd like to do things on my own terms, because as somebody who has worked in private practice before, and I've worked in schools, and like I just hate the way certain people run their business. And it's just like, what are you doing? So it makes me really excited to own my own practice, to do things on my own terms and just make a name for myself in the mental health field here. The fact that you do your private practice, right? What are you doing for self-care? Sister, I'm sure you're busy trying to run your own business and it's a lot. It's a lot on you. Please tell me, what do you do?
Yeah, I think
Your
that
face already is like telling me, oh,
it's hard. It is hard in the society we live in. What I'm doing though is getting really good on my boundaries. Like I realized I didn't have any energetic or emotional boundaries. And so I was like, oh, okay, I have to, or I have to listen to myself, like mother myself in ways of like, we're overstimulated. I know that you want to dissociate, but you're gonna have to turn the music off while you drive home. I really have to practice what I preach and like really be gentle with myself. Also, I like doing horse shit. I like, dressing like a slut, going out, shaking my ass with my friends, like talking shit. I like, hanging out with my friends, just eating good and watching good shit and giggling. I try to like be lively in that way. And like I'm looking forward to the summer. I'm like, oh, it's just giving slut energy. Can't wait to be out at the springs with my tits out, drinking now. So I'm trying to do that. I feel like that's how my outlet, but really I'm learning the nurturing of self is what I'm like, okay, I have to because it's a lot. Like even capitalism, because it's hard being my own business person because like I'm the only person that I rely on in that because comfort in ways and fear in others and fears in other ways. But yeah, that's kind of how I've been trying to just find and giving myself grace and compassion. Like I do have a lot of Capricorn in my chart, and I can be really intense with myself. And it's like, we're gonna have to have compassion because we're not gonna make it to Thursday, bitch, if you keep being mean to me. So, like, I want to hold myself accountable. I think for me, realizing a lot of the ways that I was taught to hold myself accountable in society is through punishment and violence. And I'm like, okay, that's obviously not serving us at all, individually, collectively. So having to be like, okay, where I can hold myself accountable. Also, like you have to give yourself grace. Like, okay, it didn't go according to plan, but you did the best that you could do, bitch. And I'm done for the day.
I have such a hard time giving myself grace. So the fact that you can, I admire that because I tend to beat myself up very easily,
Mm.
especially when it comes to being a therapist too. Like sometimes I'll feel like, oh, I didn't do enough for this client, or like maybe I should have said this, or maybe I should have said that. So, I go to my clinical supervisor for that stuff and I'm like, oh, I didn't feel like I did enough. And he'll just be like, Ashley, like, you definitely did enough. Even just by listening to them, that means more than you know. And which is a good reminder, right? But I don't know. Like I said, I tend to beat myself up very much. And I give you props for being able to give yourself some grace like that.
Thank you. I'm in the beginning stages of it's hard to give yourself grace. Like I'm realizing ways to becoming a therapist. And I realized a lot of ways that I'm like, oh, I feel like a mammy. I feel like people expect me to show up as a mammy. And I think for a lot of femmes, particularly black and brown femmes, of like we're constantly need to be nurturing, constantly have our breast out and like I need to breastfeed this person and that person. But then we're demonized if we hold like okay, I have a boundary. No, I can't do that. It's like, oh, you're Jezebel, you're demonic, you're mean, you're selfish. Who do you think you are? You're so vain. Like you are letting people suffer. And so I'm realizing for me, I think that's also why I was struggling. And I still do to give myself grace because I feel like either if I'm not a mammy, I have to be this doll for people. And I constantly have to make people feel good. And if I'm not doing that, I'm the worst person ever. And so I don't know if that is what kind of comes up for you too, but I'm in the beginning stages of because I realized that the world treats us so harshly and it's like I don't want to do that to myself. It feels icky. It feels violating. It's like I don't want to be violated. That perspective shift has been helpful for when I'm like keep myself at the neck to like ease up a little bit.
I understand on my side, like the expectations that society has on us when they hear that we're mental health counselors or social workers or anything. It's insane because, we're people too. And that's the reason that Ashley and I essentially wanted to start this podcast is because we want to normalize the fact that we struggle through a lot. Within any career, there are struggles. Doctor, social workers, physical therapists. There's always going to be struggles. We are listening to other people's issues and other people's problems. And the fact that we have a hard time creating boundaries for ourselves, whereas we preach and we say, do this, do A, do B, do C, make sure you go out there and do all of it. And then the following week, even reiterate what we said the week before. And we are burnt out almost every week. We are tired, don't want to do anything, don't like it's really hard for us. It takes a lot out of us. And so the fact that we have to constantly remind ourselves as well, like you have to go out there, you have to do something for yourself, treat yourself every once in a while, make sure that you're okay, check in with yourself is actually really hard. We don't really know, like we preach it, but we don't really know how to do it.
Be
Yeah.
honest, sister, are you guilty of that too?
Well, I guess when it comes to grace, because I was going to say, I have a hard time of like deviating from any rule that I created in my mind. It's like, if you deviate from this rule, you're gonna die. So don't do that. So, but in ways, yes, the compassion piece. Yes, or it's interesting that you'll be working with clients or something, and then the universe is like, okay, now you do it. Now you show me I have to do that next. And it is a struggle because we're human. And I think it's also hard in ways to turn it off. Like I'm still in the beginning of my counselor identity. So I wonder if this is how doctors feel, where it's like, okay, if I see my loved ones doing something that's like, oh, that's gonna fester your wound. Like, how do I turn that off? It's a part of who I am in ways. And so that's been hard because then it feels like, okay, well, I'm a therapist, so I must still show up as a therapist outside of office hours. And sometimes it's like I am a listener, like I do care, but no, I don't want to be trauma dumped on at the bar. Like if someone finds out they're like, oh, you're a therapist, or if I'm in the grocery store and I say that, then it's like, wow. But then I feel in ways like I have to do that. And so it is, but then I tell my clients, like, you get to say no, or you have permission to not show up in this way. And then realizing that there's ways where I have a small voice that says, but not you.
You said that you feel the need to show up as a therapist even outside of the office too. I think that's really interesting because I try so hard to turn my therapist brain off outside of the office too. But it's sometimes it's hard, especially like when you want to be there for your friends, then it's like, okay, gotta put on my therapist hat on and try to help my friend out through whatever situation that they're going through. Now, and I also have had family members who are like, you're a therapist, like help your cousin or something with this situation, or like help this family member with dealing with issues with this family member. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of pressure. I wonder if like you deal with that as well, like even maybe in your family too, just people giving you pressure to be a therapist when there's like family drama going on or something like that.
I feel like I've always been an introspective person. And I feel like I didn't have boundaries in the past, sure. So that also, I feel like ways trying to step into a caretaker role for my loved ones prior to being a therapist. And I'm also just been naturally curious or like, oh, tell me more. And like, what do you think contributed to that? I'm like, when I love someone, I'm like, I want to know every single thing about you and why you think this way, everything that you do. And I think after I became a therapist, I've gotten feedback from some friends of like, I feel like you're showing up as a therapist right now and I don't need to do that. I'm like, and I was like, no, it's because I'm naturally introspective and I've only gotten better as a therapist. But then I think, no, I've recently realized you can just listen. Like, you don't have to show up in this way to hold people in that manner all the time. And so I think I've had to be told to step out of that. It's with my parents that I struggle showing up as a therapist the most because I'm like, oh, your healthcare providers, that's fucking trash. And they need to do this. And like, let's process your trauma, mom, so that you don't have to do this. And I want better for them in a lot of ways. And so, and I think that generation in general I just mourn for them in a lot of ways. And I see so many of their belief systems I think keep them in boxes, but it's hard because I'm trying to learn how to stay in a child's place and also not be a therapist in that way. So I'm learning how to do that. And it feels weird to say because if I heard me saying that, I'd be like, ew, stinky. But but that's what I'm doing. And it's just weird.
Can I just say, I love that you said that you like to sit with people and be like, tell me everything. Like, what do you like? And just wanting to really get to know the ins and outs of them. I'm the same way. I really, truly love to sit with people and be like, what's your deepest, darkest secret? Like, what is the trauma that you've been through? Tell me it all.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know, like even just outside of the office, like maybe sometimes I can't get my therapist brain out no matter where I go because it's just like I just want to know everything about you.
Absolutely. it's like a love language. It's like, oh my God. It's like, I want to know this person. Like, let me see your playlist. Like, please, if you would let me read your diary, not even a nosy way. It's like, I want to know your essence. Or the more so when I love people, or like even like my cat, it's like, I just want to stick your head in my mouth. I don't know how much closer we can get. Like, I miss you, dude. I want to swim in your pheromones. It's so good. Like, it's that cute aggression. And I feel like I love people in an intellectual way and a spiritual way too. It's like, who do you pray to? What type of dreams do you have? Because when I go to think about you and fantasize about you, it makes my fantasies more realistic. I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're doing this, or I can that. Or when I see something out, I'm like, oh, this makes me think about you. It almost feels like essential oils in ways. And that's how I like feel like I want to like concentrate people that I know, but I think it allows me to have a better appreciation for the world that I live in. And even that's why like I love my clients so much because it's like I get to know a side of you that a lot of people in your life don't get to know. And it's like, dude, you're fucking great. I'm learning not to put people on pedestals, but I just admire the people that I love and that I come across. And so I'm just like, oh, I just want everybody to taste you too. It's like, no, but did you smell them in this way? Or did you listen to their playlist? Like they're fucking great. And here's why, like a museum of people. And so in ways I'm learning how to do that in a healthy manner, but I think it also allows me to have more access to life.
I love the fact that you feel that way. And it just goes to show how passionate we are about what we do too, because we really want to get to know our clients and we really want like we just want to know the ins and outs of them, and that truly helps us build rapport with our clients too. The fact that we're so interested in to learn about them because maybe they don't have people in their lives that are willing to listen to them and willing to get to know them and why they are the way that they are. So let me ask you, my dear, are there any mental health struggles that you've gone through that maybe have motivated you to want to become a therapist yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, initially, for sure, self-esteem. I had really intense self-esteem. It's interesting to think about it now as I look back on my younger self with the knowledge I have now and just body image stuff. I think the shame, I think a lot of just black femmes feel, I think particularly growing up in the system that like we're too aggressive or like not being able, I felt misperceived a lot of the times. Like people saw me as super annoying. So I had a lot of shame about my personality as well. And then when I got to undergrad, I got diagnosed with OCD, and I'm like, that OCD is truly something else. She is let me be nice. The comments can definitely be cunty and not in the hot type of way. And it's just very intense and not knowing how to manage my mental health when I first got diagnosed with OCD. Like, I know I've always had it, but really in college dealing with depression and anxiety. And I look back now, I'm like, oh, okay, that probably was definitely burnout from being neurodivergent. So I think in those ways, I think now I'm dealing with feeling safe again. There's a phenomenal somatic practitioner in Gainesville. Her name's Zoe that really helped me feel safe internally and externally. And so that's been helpful. I think that really helps me kind of show up with clients because now I know I'm like, oh, I have this awareness of trauma in the body more than I had before, and being able to bring that up to clients and help them know, okay, this is why we need to slow down, or it seems like your body is reacting intensely to this trauma. What is that narrative, and why do you think your body's overcompensating in that way? So I would say the struggles that I've had and the subsequent care has definitely helped me show up as a therapist with my own clients.
I can definitely relate with the self-esteem issues, right? Because I'm physically disabled. So growing up, I was bullied a lot. So I use crutches to get around. But when I was younger, I was using a walker. And people would be like, you're never gonna walk. Your walking is never gonna get better. Like, haha, I can walk and you can't. People said brutal things to me, man. Like
That
brutal. Yeah. And so it would always affect my self-esteem, and I never really spoke up about it until maybe middle school-ish, maybe, because I was afraid to speak up about it. I don't know. I guess it was because I was young and I just didn't know what to do. So I would start speaking up about it in middle school. And my mom, when she would go to my school, she would raise hell, that woman. She would not play about me. She would not play. And I'm really grateful to have a family that has always instilled in me, like, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. Like, don't, your disability is nothing. Like, don't let that define you. Especially with my dad. My dad has always said that to me. Always, always, always. So I've been really lucky in that sense. I think that my self-esteem got a lot better in high school because I always had a really good support system growing up, just like people telling me like, Ashley, you're beautiful, like you can do anything. And I'm like, you know what? Like I am beautiful. And I became just more secure of myself. I also use leg braces to help me walk around. And I always used to be so embarrassed in showing that off. So I would always wear, even in like freaking 90-degree weather, I would always wear like long pants, long jeans, or something like that because I would never want to show it off. And then as time went on, like even in high school, I'm like, you know what? I feel really accepted and people have my back and people are always telling me that I'm beautiful and that I'm this and I'm that. So then I just didn't care. Like I would wear shorts and I would like show off the like braces without any care. So I can absolutely relate in terms of the low self-esteem because within that, like I was always thinking negatively about myself too. Just I'm not good enough or I'm never gonna have any friends. I'm never gonna be anything in my life because of my disability.
For sure. And I think that's not a conversation I think a lot of therapists are necessarily having in our office spaces about desirability politics and what that's like because it becomes a self-worth thing. And it's even having friends and other community members even talking about getting weight loss surgery. And it's like people say hello to me now, open the door for me now. And it's like that sounded so dehumanizing. Like when you were saying in the comments, like, yes, I can acknowledge also children, but also like that behavior feels so barbaric to like degrade someone in that way and to taunt someone in that way and to like even like I resonate with the felt sense of like feeling shame, like let me cover up my body and what that does even as humans when I'm like that disconnection we have with our bodies because it feels so violated and tainted and like look, I have to cover my body because how dare I make other people feel uncomfortable with my ugliness. And that desirability politics is that's also something passionate and wanting to talk about because how do we reclaim that? And for me in a lot of ways like it no, I don't have a physical disability and so there's ways I cannot resonate with that experience in ways I do of growing up being fat and black. Like I reclaim the word fat now, but in so many ways I felt like I love being a femme fatale and that power like to like yeah, you know, am beautiful and I am the shit. And I do like that you felt that. It's like, no, let me step my pussy up. And it's just good. And like that energy that we can create from that power and to know that that was trying to be taken from you. And it is such an important place. And it's like, because you didn't fit this one fucking norm, but then the cost of that. And I don't think we talk about it. And it's just like, oh, you're beautiful and call it a day. But it's like, no, people have made me feel like I am not worthy of being a human, of taking up space, of being acknowledged, of opportunities, like it's of love, of community care, particularly when you have a disability. Like I really like I heard, I don't know who said it. I need to look it up, but she said she's a huge advocate in the disability revolution. And she was like, it's clear to people with disabilities every day that the world just wants you to shut up and die and go away. And it's like, yeah. And so even that messaging, it's like, yeah, that self-esteem is real. Those self-esteem issues are real. It's not just do a face mask, mama, and put a smile. It's like, no, we have to do some deep guttural trauma work. I think with fat phobia too, like I've had to tell doctors, like I don't need you. I'm not coming in here about a weight issue. Like, I need you to tell me about my health. And it's like, it's a desirability politics. If you guys gave a fuck about health, you want to be telling me to not eat red meat. You would be talking, why the fuck are we treating our fucking cows this way? Why are our vegetables this way? Why don't we have walkable cities? Why are there pesticides in this? Like, let's talk about land back. If you truly gave a fuck about people's health, that would not be the conversation about my weight in this issue. And it becomes a moral thing, and it has nothing to do with actually care about how this person is. And I feel like that even in itself is like, so when I care, I know how to care for myself, and I can eat a whole cake and I'm like, okay, but I also make sure I need to move my body. And even if I don't move my body in this day, that has nothing to do with my sense of self-worth, because it comes even to like a humanizing thing. Like, that sounds, I love pleasure. Like, the idea of eating a cake in front of like a nice big t-shirt with the TV show on, my phone is on do not disturb, sounds heavenly. And it's like, we should have that. But I hate that even her understanding of this is being unhealthy is so far from why anything
Mhm.
when it comes to nutrition would be healthy. It has nothing to really do with our body size. Like, we would have to have a whole different conversation. And I feel like, because I think a lot of people when they go to like diet and exercise, like, you're not even giving your body what it needs because you're trying to be skinny. You're not trying to be healthy for your body, because you could still be in a bigger body and be healthy as fuck. Because maybe what your body needs is more flexibility, is just a little bit more strength training, and you would still be in a bigger
Mhm.
body, and that would still make people treat you like shit. And when I believe I can do it, I can have everything, and
Mhm.
I up in that way. And why deny ourselves pleasure and sensuality and wearing certain clothes? Like, there's this account on Instagram, and they really talk about just people who, and I think there's a conversation about that too, but wearing sex work aesthetic in their day to day, which I do love, dressing like a slut. And the person's quote was, if they make sexy clothes in my size, I'm gonna wear it. Like, why shouldn't I be able to wear these things? Because my body is this way. And it's not because I ate a whole cake. It's, I feel bad wearing this because society has made me feel bad for wearing this because my body looks like this. Because there's a lot of people who are, I'm sure, and a size 2 that could also eat a whole cake. Because that
Mhm.
shit sounds good. That's fun, depending on the cake. The fat shaming prevents people from actually taking care of their health. Like, yes, movement is important for our bodies, but that does not look the same for us all. But you're not having that conversation with me. Or if you were really like, again, you were so concerned about my weight, why the fuck are you not giving me a full work through so we can talk about things and also educate me like on things like stay away from this or stay away from that, or maybe your body needs a little bit more iron, so you need to eat foods like this more for your iron levels. And that's just so ridiculous. And it's not all doctors for sure, but it says a lot about our society that, again, we have people in positions of power who we look to help take care of ourselves, and you're just reinforcing shame for me and self-deprecation, because who does that serve? Because body shaming doesn't make anybody get healthier. It makes them way more unhealthier. And but these are our doctors.
Now, going back to just what you've been through growing up, the self-esteem issues, the body image issues, etc. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
I like this Alina Baraz lyric where it says, I can only meet you as deep as you have met yourself. And I think I would have told my younger self that there's ways that I needed to grow as a person where it's like, okay, you could show up better in relationships for sure. But when it comes to self-esteem, I think I would say like a lot of people don't love themselves. And so they're not going to be able to see you in that way because they don't see themselves in that way. Or I think, yeah, I would just like, and people are withholding for many ways because they're not used to giving praise and compliments and people their roses. And that it's not, it's more so to say about our society. So I think I would try to tell myself that so that I wouldn't seek external validation so much to have permission to be. And I think in ways I would have told myself to be more discerning with who I chose to be vulnerable with, because not every eyes are going to look at you kindly. I would have wanted, I think, a little bit more autonomy to know, like, do I choose to show myself fully in this space if it's not a safe one? Knowing that this is a societal thing, is not a you thing. It's not because you are not worthy or you are not qualified for these things. It's just like the situation you're in. And so I think I also would have been like, yes, you're right. It feels weird because it is weird. You feel unsafe because you are unsafe in a lot of ways.
It's funny that I ask you that question too, because when I think about myself, I struggle with that too, because my younger self, like you said, would not receive that advice. Definitely not, because again, even now, sometimes my mind between these two ears can be a bad neighborhood. If I were to see my younger self now, I would seriously just tell her that things truly do get better and you will get to where you want to be in your life, no matter what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if they tell you that you can't, doesn't matter that they'll tell you that I can't because of my disability, but no matter what, you're gonna get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky enough that everything that I've manifested growing up has happened so far,
Mm-hmm.
despite my disability. Just even saying this out loud now, I don't think I really give myself enough credit. I don't. I don't. I really don't give myself enough
I'm on the
credit.
same boat as you.
So like just saying this out loud, this is probably like one of the rarest times that I say this out loud to myself, honestly. So hearing myself say this, like I feel really proud of myself despite all the hardships that I've been through, so many people letting me down, so many people just putting me down in some way. The fact that I've been able to still pick my head up and get to where I am today, it's truly a blessing. And I really am proud of myself for that.
That you gave yourself those roses. It's I think it would be blasphemous if you didn't, because it's like you did that. Like you did that despite like people violating you and trying to stop you in such intense ways and many ways as well, just intersectionality wise. And you did that, and it's and I love that's why I love empowerment and confidence, and it's like yes, you deserve that. And I like the Doja Cat line, like I took it and I ran for it, and I love that energy because I also think about our ancestors who could not. And so it's more than just us, it's like they also like all the other femmes and all their anybody. And I feel like our lineages, that our ancestors who were deprived of owning their shit and getting the luxury and the fruit of their labor. It's like that is such a huge thing that you're giving yourself, that praise and acknowledgement. Like, yes, finally, like final fucking me. And as you should, because no one else got you there but you.
Definitely. I think thinking about our ancestors, just the fact that we have an education, they would have been mind blown because there was
Mm.
a time we weren't allowed to study. We weren't even allowed to get a degree of any type. And now we have three masters
Mhm.
combined with us. And the fact that we had to go through such a long process to get it, we have been through so many things to get us to where we are to better understand this process. And if I was to go back to my younger self and say, you're going to not only get one degree, you're going to get two degrees and possibly another one because I am thinking of going for my PhD. My younger self would have been in, first of all, I'm like, are you serious? You want to go through that much schooling? Because I used to hate school. And then I think they would have said, wow, I'm going to do that. I used to think about having a time machine and going back to see my younger self. And if I had the chance to talk to them, I wanted to show them how confident we became
Mhm.
within ourselves, and how successful we are, not just, money wise, just successful in the confidence that we have, the blessings that we have, how just our lives have become, and for them to see that it is reachable. Because I remember when I was younger, I used to daydream, how am I going to be when I'm a grown up? What am I going to look like when I'm a grown up? What type of person am I going to be? And I think growing up the way that I am, she'd be very proud.
Speaking
Mhm.
of growing up, Ciara, where's your family from?
From Florida. Well, my dad's side of the family is from Mississippi, but my mom's side, I'm like, damn, we really are from Florida. We've been in this bitch. But from Florida, but also my mom and my grandma are also Miami girls. Like they've lived in different places in Florida, but really I feel like Miami is where we're from. African American. So I did actually did my ancestry on my dad's side, but yeah, mainly African American. I know that. I guess if we really want to take it back, where I originally originated West Africa, but a lot of my roots is here in the South.
And I'm wondering what your family's view on mental health is. Just like what their reaction was when you wanted to be a therapist. What were they saying? What were their thoughts?
I'm grateful. My mom also plays a huge role in me wanting to become a therapist because she has always been pro mental health. And I remember her taking me and my sister to a therapist when we were younger. And so I think I started therapy maybe 14, but she's also just always been very open about mental health. So I don't think she was surprised. I know she was very proud of me. My dad, I got him into mental health. I think he had an understanding of what a therapist was, of like, for him, I think it was like the same way I think parents would be like, oh, my child's a doctor, but it's very like this like beep bop beep way. Obviously he knows that it's not that when he took me, and he knows that my name is the love bitch when he was begging me to get my business bank account. And so he knows that like there's a deviated norm that his child is practicing. But I think they're very proud. Like I've seen him, he really does say like how much that they both do, but I think he has a different perspective, not knowing mental health in the same way my mom has, of like, wow, this is a great field. I'm really like, I think he has a different type of reverence for what I do now that he is a client himself, of like, wow, that's actually really cool. I think before he thought it was something cool and prestigious that he saw on TV that was like, my child's a therapist. But I think Martin now is like, my child's a therapist.
I'm so glad that we've been able to get to know you and just like you are, oh my God, like how free-spirited you are. Like I love it. I love hearing about you and just like how energetic you are. The fact that Gabby the fact that she was like, oh my God, you would love her. Like, here's her information, talk to her, get like I love that she did that because to know you and to see how passionate you are about the mental health field, it's everything.
It's so inspiring.
I'm taking a beat and learning just to slow down. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for seeing me in that way. I have deep reverence for it. And thank you for honoring my personality and my light in that way. It makes my younger self feel seen as well, who felt like this light, but kind of was definitely misperceived. So thank you for perceiving me in that way and allowing me to come on to you guys' podcast, because this is also sacred. It's a sacred space. It's a creation that you all have and like what you're trying to build to the community. So I have a lot of reverence for having an invitation into this space, and for Gabby for speaking so highly of me. Like human connection means a lot to me, and this is one of the human connections, like the softer, more pleasurable side of connecting with people. So thank you. That I'm grateful. I'm like, wow, it's calling my mom like and my best friend beforehand. Like we're like, that's so cool. Be on a podcast. So thank you for the excitement as well.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
And before we let you go, we have one last question for you. Okay.
Okay.
Where's your mental health at today on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the best. Okay.
I'm the best.
And what are you doing to make sure your mental health is in check?
And right now, I would say it's a nine. It's a nine because I'm not gonna lie. I think after like I come down for this, there's always that anxiety of like, what about these bad things? So it's a nine, but that's still great. That's amazing, and I'm happy that it's at a nine. What am I doing to to care for my mental health and kind of keep it as well as it can be? Boundaries, like listening to myself after this. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go get a sweet treat. Probably go to a bakery. put on my, my thumbs, go around. So I think being present in the moment and allowing myself to slow down is what I'm doing to like preserve my sanity. What about
Right.
you?
Oh, she's trying to get on
Oh,
us.
okay.
I love it. So for me, when it comes to how I'm keeping my mental health in check, I see a therapist weekly. So I make sure that my mental health is in check in that sense because my therapist tends to challenge my thoughts like crazy because again, like my thoughts go everywhere and it goes into a negative space a lot. So she challenges my thoughts and then I'm able to kind of catch myself sometimes to being like, oh, look, I'm being a negative Nancy again. Let me reframe my thoughts right now. I do things that make me happy on the weekends because my job, I work at a clinic, a mental health clinic. So it's like back-to-back sessions, 30-minute sessions over and over and over again. Lots of documentation, 15 clients a day. It's a lot. So yeah,
A day?
yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So it's a lot. And so I make sure my weekends are my self-care weekends. So like I'm getting my hair done, I'm getting my nails done, I'm spending time with my friends that I love so much that uplift my spirits because again, like I thrive just being around people. I just thrive being around people because people just make me happy. And honestly, being alone sometimes like I'm just alone in my thoughts. And I hate that about myself. And it's hard to control when I'm alone, which is why I like to just be around people and just be out of the house for that specific reason. So again, just lots of self-care for myself, do my nails and doing my hair and all that stuff, and just being around people and seeing a therapist of my own because again, every therapist needs a therapist. That's definitely what has helped me in terms of keeping my mental health in check.
For me, just like Ashley, I love to be around people. I love to spend time with my loved ones and my friends who are such huge supporters of everything that I do. Yes, they may get on my nerves sometimes, but I love them dearly. I like to go to different exercise classes. So like I'm a huge advocate for Soul Cycle. I love Soul Cycle. Something I used to do that I really want to get back into is horseback riding. It's a feeling that can't be topped for me. If it wasn't so expensive, I'd be doing right now. Now that the weather's getting nicer, I think I'm going to start doing that more. During the week, I will take breaks. I will definitely sleep when I need to sleep. I've recently gotten into the habits of doing my own nails rather than going somewhere. My mental health is in a good place because I'm surrounded by people who support me. I think I've done a good job in picking my support group and making sure that they are the best people that can be around me at this moment in my life.
In the first episode, I was saying that I was struggling with my mental health a little bit because I tend to allow people to dictate like how I feel about myself and just my mood for the rest of the day. So since that conversation, I said that my mental health it was at a 5 or 6. Right now, I would probably say it's going up a little bit, maybe like a 7.5 around there, because I am trying to pick myself up and stop letting people just allowing people to like dictate my emotions like that. So I am trying to get back into some old healthy habits like going boxing. I used to go boxing consistently, but because of my job, I haven't been able to do it. I've been slacking on it. So now I've been trying really hard and trying to make the time for it because it really is my stress reliever. I love doing it because there's something about punching that bag that just like is so empowering. So I actually started going back this week and like it was such a huge reminder to me of like how much I love it and just like how much I miss it. Like forget about the weight loss piece of it all, but it just how much of it helps my mental health and just how stress relieving it is. So
Okay.
I'm really happy that I've been slowly getting myself out of a little rut that I was in and just picking myself up and just being like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna let these people dictate how I feel anymore. I'm going to do things that make me happy, and that's it.
That's sustainability. That's sustainability and abundance. So you can continue to show up. I love that you went back this week to reclaiming that, because your job is a lot. That is a lot that is asked of you. You are giving a lot. So I'm glad that you're like, no, 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 no. Reclaiming that. You both.
Yep, for sure. That's exactly how I feel. Like, especially after punching the bag, I'm like, all right, I'm good. Like, whatever stress I had for the day, out the window. I'm all good
Yeah,
now.
so going, I can imagine Ashley just getting a picture of somebody, putting it on the punching bag and just being like, bah, bah.
Oh my gosh. Those. They can like scream places where you can like hit it and
Yes.
scream and get on all fours. And so it's
Oh
like,
my. Have you guys ever been hatchet throwing?
now, not yet.
Oh, that's a stress reliever. That's great because you actually, the place that I went to here in my hometown, they were like, "Do you guys like have a picture or anything you want to put up on the board?" And we're like, "No, well, we can do that." And they're like, "Yes."
That's
Like,
so funny.
I'll remember that next time.
Oh.
I have maybe I have a picture or two.
Oh my gosh. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. It means
Thank
everything.
you.
Your story is wonderful to know that you're like a boss ass bitch running your own private practice. I love it. I love it. And just knowing how passionate you are about what you do, every single one of your clients is absolutely lucky to have you in their corner.
Thank you. I received that fully, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on you guys' podcast. I love how you both carried yourself, and I'm like was taking notes of. I think you guys do have a really great connection with each other, and virtually, I think that says a lot too, because you don't have that immediate felt sense. And I thought it was just so smooth. I think you guys do a great job of talking to people, asking questions, flowing the conversation. So I was taking notes too, like, oh, this is how I want to carry myself moving forward in this business. So thank you for being inspirational and also like showing that, having something to look up to. Thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for being on here. To me, you were such an inspiration. I also was taking notes of how I should do some stuff a little differently. It's been amazing getting to know you. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll find ourselves in Florida.
Yes, I would love that. That would be really nice to commune. And like, I really value community. So I manifest that. I would love that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share this with your friends and family. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram, Therapists Unmasked. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.